The Pittsburgh Steelers are still interested in Brandon Aiyuk, along with other teams, asking basically what the 49ers would want to trade Aiyuk to the team. And unlike Debo, who his contract to me was horrible to move off of, Brandon Aiyuk, he actually has a deal where, if the 49ers keep him for the entirety of the extension that they just gave him, it's like $110 million. But if they take a basically $8 million pay cut this year, if another team is willing to do it, and I think that's the caveat. I don't know if another team wants to do this, but they can move off of every year after 2025. None of that money will be on the 49ers books. They're wiped of the contract they just gave Brandon Aiyuk. Now, obviously, I think whenever a reporter talks to the 49ers front office next, they need to ask what the hell they're doing, because the fact that they're going to, or at least willing, according to Ian Rappaport and other, insiders, the 49, John Lynch himself said this, said he's listening to calls. The fact that they're willing to trade a guy that they just extended shows how, to me, negligent giving him that contract extension was. They were never confident on Brandon Aiyuk. Apparently, the 49ers front office was in the middle of trading him when Kyle Shanahan barged in and said that Aiyuk needs to remain a 49er, but then apparently immediately changed his mind. And every report that we've gotten since they've given Aiyuk that extension is basically about them regretting it and wanting to move off of Aiyuk.
Yeah.
That was pre-injury. Aiyuk gets hurt, so now he's really not able to live up to his contract because he's also just not playing. Huge waste of money for, obviously, last season. You got no return on investment for Aiyuk last year, and if they move off of him this year, it'll be not. The messed up thing is, to me, it's catastrophic in the way that you just look so incompetent to be in this position, but
Yeah.
actually it's not completely idiotic to move off of him if you do not believe that, one, in this scheme, he's ever going to have the opportunity to live up to that deal. And two, if you believe that this horrible injury, it's not just a normal ACL, it's cartilage, it's PCL, it's his knee is broken in every way that it could be broken. If you believe that it's going to be damn near impossible for Aiyuk to ever return to the same level he was at, and there's a team that's willing to trade for him, and you can move off of that deal and kind of just cut your losses from what you've already paid him, it's not completely idiotic to move off of him. I wouldn't
Yeah.
oppose it. I would more just critique what got you in that position. Does that make sense? Like,
Right.
if you traded him, I wouldn't be like, this is terrible. I would just be like, it's crazy that you got yourself here when you never had to be in this position.
Right. It's been mismanaged throughout.
Yeah.
You think about this and you say that, okay, Pittsburgh was willing to trade swap the first round picks last year for Aiyuk. If the Niners had done that, that's where they can finally take their offensive tackle. They could have taken him last year with that pick, with that trade. Kyle got in the way of that. And now here we are. And now the Niners say, gee, we need offensive linemen. Duh. If you had just made the Aiyuk trade, you'd have your tackle right now. So, that's frustrating.
Kamaran says Aiyuk to the Raiders, and something that I found funny, the comment that he put right above this wasn't super chatted, but he said, damn, Debo really got an upgrade. And how the 49ers hate Aiyuk that they could potentially send Debo to the Commanders, that, Brandon Aiyuk was parading Jaden Daniels around, begging to go there last season. They don't send him there, and then they send him to go fail for the rest of his career at in Las Vegas with the Raiders. No offense, Raiders. I don't think that's happening.
I think
Once
it
again,
yeah.
I have a little idea, and I know you're gonna immediately shut it down because it's not realistic. But
Nope.
there was a little voice, and I think you know where I'm going in my head. That's like, okay, Aiyuk plus
Stop
Jack
now.
and Max Crosby in return. It's okay. We can rub our hands. But I think that there's one, once again, you've talked about in general, Mark Davis and the Raiders not wanting to do the 49ers any favors. And also, Aiyuk is not worth anything in that deal.
No.
And
It's fun
also,
to
John
talk
Lynch
about.
talked
It's
about
fun
how
to
he doesn't
hope.
want to spend more money, and
Yeah.
getting Max Crosby is spending more money. So
Yeah, people are still hoping for Crosby, but look, Mark Davis refused when even the Niners offered the best offer by far for Khalil Mack, and Mark Davis refused to even look at it. That should tell you everything you need to know about the chances of Mark Davis approving a deal sending Max Crosby to the Niners. It's just not going to happen. People want to say, well, he moved to Vegas. He's no longer in Oakland. Doesn't matter. He's at Davis. Al carried grudges to his grave. It's just Mark Davis isn't going to make a trade with the Niners. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, I get you saying Ayuk to the Raiders, Giant, but yeah, no, that's Mark Davis will never do that. So we'll see. Ayuk has plenty of other options. There's a lot of teams that would want him. Pittsburgh, New England. There's plenty of teams that could use him. The Chargers, the Rams. There's a lot of teams that need receivers that play like that. Jesus asked me in the chat. So who's the big receiver now? They're going to have to draft him. And I would think that the guy that they would look at is Savion Williams from TCU. And he's somebody that they could take at 75. And he's basically the X receiver that's in an Ayuk mold as far as 6'3", and he can separate, and he's got a great contested catch rate. He's somebody that I think they'll look at.
who is that again?
Savion Williams, he's from TCU.
Okay.
A wide receiver in the third.
Okay. And then Niner Gang Tate says Ayuk isn't getting traded now. They won't trade both receivers and take two big cap hits. I tend to agree that it's a lot of money to be throwing away on a team that you're not, for players that aren't going to be performing now. But 31 is a lot of money if they're already in the mindset that they're kind of just clearing cash this year. Maybe the thing to do is kind of do it all in 1 year, get it over with, and then restart next year. That's not what fans want to hear because it means you're way less interested in competing and being competitive this year. You're more just trying to get your book straight. But unfortunately, from the sound of John Lynch talking at the combine and the moves that they're making now, I hate to say, it seems like they're more interested in getting their Jed York's cash right than they are for competing for a Super Bowl this year, which I agree with you, Niner Gang. Tate is surprising to me, especially because they just missed the playoffs this year. I thought that there was going to be a lot of pressure to perform, but seemingly there's just a lot of pressure to kind of get the money right, not necessarily to get your team back up, which I just like to think that your team being successful and money kind of go hand in hand. We've seen the 49ers don't necessarily think that way, especially based on how they've talked about, the previous owners and GMs. And so.
Right. Just to address the question also, it's not a big cap hit for Ayuk is why they could do both. Debo is a $31 million cap hit. Ayuk is 7.2. So it allows them to do both.
Still, now, to calm people, or because I like to have an optimistic side, the Rams were paying Jared Goff $50 million when they won the Super Bowl. So it's still less money. Moving off of both Debo and Ayuk is still less money than the Rams were paying Jared Goff when they won the Super Bowl with Matt Stafford. So it is possible to compete and to be in contention for a championship while paying this much money to get people off their team. Like I said, specifically, I'm not talking about Ayuk, specifically Debo. I think there is benefit to just getting him off your team and being able to utilize the rest of your players without worrying that there's malcontent on your team that's going to be complaining or demanding the ball or whatever. So I think that that's positive. If Ayuk was healthy, I would hope that moving off of Debo means more targets for Ayuk, and maybe we see his production go up, and he could, try to be worth the deal that he was given. He's not only is he not going to play to start the year, he might not be playing in the middle of the year. Ayuk is going through a very, very horrendous and tough injury. John Lynch said he obviously got his surgery by one of the best knee doctors in the world, the same doctor that did Nick Bosa's ACL. There's a milestone where they're going to test if he's kind of on the right trajectory coming up in a couple weeks, according to John Lynch. But even with the timeline that they were given, no setbacks, no accelerations, just that timeline, he's not going to be ready until at least the middle of next year. And being ready, what I mean by that is ready to be on the field and running, not Ayuk top speed, top chemistry with Brock Purdy. That's not what I mean. I just mean like he can what they're hoping is he can be like on the field, but he's not going to be his full self. Most people, just with ACLs, Nick Bosa has talked about this. Nick Bosa said it took him a full year after he was like cleared. It took him a full year to actually be able to trust his knee and be able to play effortlessly without thinking about that knee and being able to put weight on it and go all out. And that was just an ACL. With once again with Ayuk, it's cartilage, it's a PCL, ACL, MCL. It is every I'm gonna just name 3, and I think there's more that I'm missing. Like it was a
It's a
horrific injury. So
yeah, it's a terrible injury, and it makes it that much harder to come back from when you've got that much cartilage that's gone wrong. Your dad came in,
yeah, he's
so
camping.
cool.
Uh,
4
my
mile
dad
hike
said,
in,
"Hi, I'm
nice,
actually
love it.
just coming in here to brag, I guess. Got a tent and a bonfire going for my hike in." Okay, well, I had some chocolate and peanut butter. So what about that, Dad? He just found out he got service. Let's get after it. I want to say I love you so much to my dad. If you guys tuned in to my first stream in over a week yesterday, if you know, Tom and I usually we go every week, and I stream more than just that, but I wasn't able to go because my computer was all messed up. My dad was a big help and definitely at least listen to me complain about my laptop struggles the last year. So thank you so much for all the help, Daddy, and thank you for tuning in. If you missed it, I don't know if you are literally just tuning in as you wrote this comment, but Deebo Samuel is now Washington Commander. He is traded, and now we're talking about the rumors that Ayuk could also be traded. But so just if you're tuning in now, Deebo Samuel no longer a 49er. Crazy work. Hope you didn't buy that jersey. Gotta he's in that 19 jersey, and everyone's like,
Probably
"Oh,
not.
number." And then now he's
I was in Washington.
yeah, once again out of it. So
So with Ayuk, we'll see, but yeah, I don't think there's any cash constraint or cap constraint or concerns of dealing him. And
which
Mike
means
Silver has said the Niners are very open to dealing him. Silver has some connections within the team, so I think that's legit. I think that if they get an offer they like, they'll move on. After Debo got a 5th, what can Ayuk get? Maybe a 4th. Anything higher than that, I would be surprised.
and just to tell everyone what the exact numbers are for trading Brandon Aiyuk, the new team, so a team that would trade for him would get him for 4 years. He's guaranteed 24 million point or 24.8 million in 2025, 27 million in 2026. Those are both guaranteed money. 2027 he has 28 million, 2028 has 30 million. So the 49ers would be able to clear all of that off their desk. That's all the extension they gave him. So once again, I think I it might be the owners meetings the next time that the beat reporters get to talk to the 49ers, whether that's John Lynch or Kyle, but they need to ask them what the hell they were thinking, because it seems like the second they gave him this deal, once again, pre-injury, seems like the second they gave him this deal, the short skate thing happened. I think a lot of people, because all that off season's kind of mushed together, you might in your head be like, oh, the shorts, the thing where he went out and he kicked his shorts off because he was wearing the wrong kind, and seemed like him and Kyle were having a standoff in front of the media last
Yeah.
offseason at camp. You might, in your hindsight memory, think, oh, that happened before he got extended, and that's why they extended him to make sure there was no drama. No, that happened after he got extended. So seems like neither of them were smitten to be together. I don't know why they, last minute broke down and figured it out to stay together. But 49ers
So
could
good.
move off of a lot of money, and their dead cap hit would be uh 18.4 million, but it's actually, as Tom said, only 7.2 million dollars lost because a lot of that money has already been paid out to him. So the only
Right.
thing that they'd be taking the cap hit on would be the 7.2. So they can move off of Ayuk. My antennas kind of are we're weighing the pros and cons. Ayuk, pre-injury, did have wide receiver one ability and talent. Cons, he's not in a system or a scheme that's really going to utilize him and target him enough to even be worth that. And then now cons, major injury. Most people are never the same after this injury. So if the 49ers are weighing that, the opposing team that is trading for him would also have to be weighing for that, and they'd have to be accepting all that. So
Yeah,
I'm
but if the
suspicious that
cost,
they're gonna.
but what's the cost to that team if it's a late fourth? Do they really care? That's the thing, is that they aren't looking into all the stuff that the Niners went through. They're just saying, we've given a fourth round pick to the Niners on a flyer that Ayuk might be able to recover. Even if it takes him a year, it's still just a fourth rounder. So given what they're giving up for him, it's not much. That factors into their thinking. Sorry to hear it, Corey.